Buildy here. I've been a little under the weather lately. Feeling pretty good now, though. I got just too much toxins. Been working 12 hours a day, every day for a while. And breathing aluminum smoke and coolant mist, atomized hydraulic fluid. I got to cut apart boxes too. I mean, cut into crates and look for stuff that shipped in from God knows where. I think most of it was overseas shipping. But they treat that wood with some sort of pesticides, and you don't want to breathe too much of the sawdust. And I did. I think that's what triggered it. Just got sicker than a dog. Inflammation. Feel like George Foreman practices his body punches on me for about a half an hour. Throat's closing up. It's kind of alarming. So I took a few days off. Got better. A lot better. I'm even smoking a cigar now. First one in a while. It might help. I'm just about completely over it. They passed a law last April in Tennessee to, let's see, how did they word that? To make ivermectin available over the counter by law. Yeah, try getting some. You don't go by law, you go by company policy, and the pharmaceutical companies won't give it to you. But that's okay. Uncle Buildy's sketchy, and Uncle Buildy finds ways around things. I think the horse paste is probably better for you than the human version anyway. They probably don't put all kinds of weird additives in it like they would for humans. Nobody wants to make horses sick. There's no money in that. Well, they had that all locked up too last time. I tried to get some at Tractor Supply. They had it all locked up in a cage and had a big sign that said, this is not for human consumption. You have to prove you have horses for you to buy some. I don't know how you're going to do that. Ride one into the floor, I guess. I don't know. But this time, I decided I'd try that again. But they have a curb service. I just called it in and paid for it online. Drove up in my farmy-looking truck, and they ran it out to me. It's convenient. So $9 worth of horse paste, which should be enough for like at least 4 doses. I took the first one. Within an hour, I could feel the inflammation going down. My throat eased off. It wasn't so alarmingly shut anymore. My headache went away. And by the next day, I was feeling 100%. I was good enough to go to work the next day, but I figured I better sit it out. Anyway, day after that, I did go to work. I worked 12 hours, and I worked 12 hours ever since, including today. But anyway, that's what I've been doing. Took my second dose today, because it's been about a week. It's been a long time since I put a video in. I do apologize, but no, I'm doing one now for what it's worth while I'm doing my laundry. I remember I was going to do a left brain, right brain thing, and I did a lot of research on it in my spare time. And it's really interesting because I've always heard that. Oh, way back in the 80s. I think the first time I heard it was a musician friend of mine. Yes, I have friends who are musicians. Or I did have. That was a long time ago. He's a nice guy, but he couldn't do anything but play music and talk a lot. But he had a Pinto, and it was jump time or something. I don't remember what it was. I was some simple problem. But it was aggravating and tedious, and he had no mechanical aptitude whatsoever. So I fixed it for him just as a favor. And man, I want to do something for you. So he's got his guitar out there and he's playing and singing. Well, it's, this was back in the 80s, so it was all right. Now it sounds kind of gay, I guess, and dude's singing and playing guitar for you while you fix his car. But it didn't seem like that there. He's a pretty good guy. I like him. But then he was saying, I'm left brain because I'm artistic and all that. And you're right brain because you can fix things. What the hell are you talking about, Skippy? What the fuck? And so he started explaining all this stuff since he'd been to college, Yeah. Okay, that's the first time I'd heard of that. Then I'd heard of it quite a bit since. I have a relative that's really into that kind of thing, a real smart guy. He's not much younger than I am. And he's always saying how he thinks it's amazing that I seem to be both left and right brained. Because I can write novels, I can write books, I can make up stories, I can do artistic things, and then I'm a word freak and very abstract and political, and yet I can deal with machines. He seems to think that that's just freakish, and you shouldn't be able to do that. He'd been to college too. He's a smart lad. He's not really a normie, but he walks among the normies, and so he kind of has to appear to be one. He's in the digital services. Yeah, that must be a lot of fun. But he believes in that distinction, and we've discussed it quite a bit. So I'm ready to dive into this, and I find that this theory goes way back to the 1800s, late 1800s. Some French guy did a bunch of forensics on dead people, and he knew a lot about and what their brains looked like, and I don't know how I couldn't really find a lot of details on how he could tell, but he divided into right and left being abstract and artistic, and right being logical, mechanical, mathematical. And how he could tell about brain activity in a dead person, I don't know. May have been the formation, or maybe he saw one side look stronger than the other. I don't know. I couldn't find any details that weren't locked up in some sort of academic paper that you got to pay to read. So that's as far as that went. But it's irrelevant anyway, because now they have MRIs and they can actually watch the activity, and that confirmed what the French guy was thinking. I'll put links in this. And they can have people doing creative things, and it's firing the left side of the brain. They have people doing math or solving geometry problems, and it's firing the right side of the brain. There's no doubt. Two different sides of the brain. That does not, however, lead to the conclusion that some people rely more heavily on one side than the other. The neglect of the other side in favor of the one. The more you dive into that academically and biologically and psychologically, everything you find says this theory is a myth. It's been discounted. It's not viable. People don't use one side of the brain over the other, like you're right-handed or you're left-handed, you're right-brained and left-brained. This doesn't hold water. The brain is a functioning unit. It's a whole. Just because one side fires on one particular set of tasks and another side fires on a different kind of task, that doesn't really mean that much. I mean, certain parts of your brain fire when you use your legs, and then other parts fire when you use your arms. So it shouldn't really be any big surprise that it doesn't have anything to do with your personality type. It's a myth. There's no connection. There's no causation or proof of any of that. It's just a myth. But that's academics. When you get into educational theory, everything I find, mainstream educational programs and curriculum and how to educate people, assumes that this myth is true. Guess they didn't get the memo. So maybe they're left brain people. I don't know. But I'll post a few random links of that stuff in here too. But you get into your how do we educate our gifted children? How do we do this? Well, and then they go right into the myth as though it's a fact that some people are left-brained and some people are right-brained, and we should take left-brained people and concentrate on their strengths. Really? I thought we were building real well-rounded people for an education. That used to be the point. It's too many theorists. I work with engineers all the time that are theorists. I work with engineers that probably couldn't change a tire on their freaking car. Serious. I work with engineers that way the hell overcomplicate things, and they don't really understand how things work in the real world. They could do it on drawings, but the whole different ballpark when you go to actually build something with imperfect materials. Building things with your hands and learning that way, it's necessary. And if you never do that, you're not a complete person. You concentrate on the art and the making music. That's all great. We can be specialists and have like ants and bees and concentrate on one particular thing. But it doesn't make you a well-rounded person. And even the thing that you do, it'll be informed better, and you'll be better at it if you have a broader range, especially if you work with your hands and you understand materials and you understand how to bring them into conformity with your ideas, and how the fact is that you have to compromise a lot. A lot of people never get that, and so they're arrogant. They think everything's so freaking simple. It seems that the educational system is cultivating separating people into hard sciences versus arts. And they want them to concentrate on the one thing to the exclusion of the other. They don't want well-rounded people. There's a good reason for that. It's done on purpose. Your people that call the shots, the Davos crowd, the ones that decide which curriculums get pushed, the ones that decide what is taught and how people are separated and focused upon and how their environment is shaped, they want competent people to fix their air conditioners. They want people to keep their Lambos running, and they want people to keep their private jets going. They want people to keep all the well-oiled machinery of power going and be reliable. They don't want these people to understand poetry. They don't want these people to understand any sort of... they don't want them to have any self-awareness, really. They don't want them to put together an ideology or a worldview. You just fix the freaking mechanical stuff. You focus on that. You learn new techniques, and you learn how to solve a limited range of simple problems by working in a group and following instructions. That's what you do. And you'll be put on a pedestal and given lots of attaboys, and you'll get paid a little bit more than other people. Keep everything going and don't make any freaking trouble. Now these artists, oh yeah, we have to take care of them too. Yeah, they don't get any mechanical training or any logic. You don't want your artists to understand how to interface with the universe. You don't want them to understand how to interface with logic. You don't want them to be logical. The more far out and weird and crazy they are, the better. That makes friction, and it makes a very ineffective people. They'll see the oppression that you show them by showing them grievance porn, and they'll make more grievance porn, and they'll make more artists, and they'll sit around and they'll be offended by everything, and they'll do things that are absurd. Yeah, that'll change the world, won't it? They have no logic. They can't think strategically. That's what you want. You don't want poets to be able to think strategically and to organize. And you don't want mechanics to see what their surroundings are and see why am I having to pay a mortgage? Why do I have to work off my ass off my whole life? All my money gets funneled away. I don't get to keep anything. And now it's getting to where you're going to be told where you can go, what you can do. It'll be privileged if you keep things running a little bit, but you don't have any self-determination. And if you're a completely mechanical person, if you think in a mechanistic fashion, if you've never read a great book, you wouldn't understand one if they gave one to you and explained it to you. Hard science. Facts. A big stack of facts were put in my head. Which facts to check out, which facts to do. Work in a team, see? Solve problems by following instructions. They're very limited people. They like it that way. You put the two together where you have a full man, where you have a man that is good in the field as well as the hall. One that understands people and understands human nature. Understands human nature like Satan. And yet, he's adept. He knows how to use Archimedean principles. And he can be quite devious with them if necessary. That's the kind of thing they don't like one bit. The thing they don't understand, though, is spite and self-education. There are thousands of us out here. I've met them, but just by chance. We're out here, and we're watching. And we're scheming. Your educational system failed. Failed to separate people. Failed to be effective. It looks right on the surface. But, no. It's coming. Left brain, right brain, indeed. We're using the whole brain. And we're using it to organize. We're using it to strategize. Things are going to get better. That's just what Uncle Billy thinks. I'm just a fool in a 40-year-old truck. Looks like a bum doing my laundry. Don't have to worry about me. Well, I don't think I forgot anything. I'm not going to be able to do all this cigar. I got to be careful. Uncle Billy, signing out.